Welcome to Broadband Action. I'm Curtis Dean, your host. Access to suitable digital devices is a critical aspect of digital inclusion. It enables individuals to effectively participate in the digital world. Without these appropriate devices, such as smartphones, tablets, or computers, people are unable to access essential information, services, education, employment opportunities, and more. These devices serve as gateways to the internet, digital skills development, and communication platforms. Ensuring equitable access to these tools helps reduce the digital divide, allowing marginalized and underserved communities to fully engage in the digital economy and society. One way to get these devices into the hands of people is to recycle and refurbish devices that are already been used and are ready for a new purpose in life. Joining us today about device recycling, refurbishment, and distribution are two entities that are in the trenches doing this very work today. Really excited to have Ashley Smith on. She is with an entity called E2D, and I'll have each of you explain your organizations and what you do here in just a minute. And also Padric Gleason, who is with Human IT. And we're really excited to have both of you on here today. I'll just start with you, Ashley. Tell us a little bit about what E2D does, your mission, where you're based, and some of the work that you've done.
Yeah, so E2D stands for Eliminate the Digital Divide. We've been around for about 11 years now. So back in 2013, the co-founding family, the daughter Franny Millen, had come home and asked our executive director and president now, is it fair that students in my class are not able to have access to do their homework because they don't have a computer at home? And what are we going to do about it? And that stopped Pat Millen, our president, in his tracks at the time. And he was like, what are we going to do about it? So as a family, they started E2D back in 2013 as actually E3D, Eliminate the Digital Divide of Davidson, which if you're not familiar with the area, it's a little bit north of Charlotte in North Carolina. And so they eliminated the digital divide in Davidson pretty quickly and then expanded to be more of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg region. So we focus mainly on getting corporate donations of laptops and other devices like tablets in. So we work with a lot of large corporations in the Charlotte area to get those devices in. And then we hire high school and college students, mainly from Title I backgrounds, to come in, learn how to do the refurbishing work. And then we work on getting those devices back out into the community to individuals who are in need of connectivity and devices, but also through a lot of different organizations that work directly with clients in the covered populations.
Great. And before we go any further, just wanted, our hearts are all going out to you and all our friends in the parts of the nation, especially North Carolina, have been so hard hit by the hurricanes and flooding. You folks are real bootstrappers there, so I'm sure you're gonna recover, but it's just gonna take some time. So hopefully everybody else in the nation is lifting their thoughts and prayers and go to it attitude to get you going there. So thanks, Ashley.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And Padric, you guys are doing something very similar, but with maybe a little bit different model at Human IT. So talk a little bit about Human IT and the work you guys do.
Yeah, Human IT, we are a nonprofit social enterprise. We were founded in East Los Angeles. Our two co-founders were working for a major electronics retailer. And what they saw is oftentimes folks will come in with a computer virus or with a small, easily repairable problem with their computer. But instead of repairing that problem, they just buy a whole new computer. And so the question was, what do we do with all that technology that has more life until it becomes obsolete, but it's no longer needed for that first user? So we also partner with technology donors, large corporates, Fortune 500 and 100 companies to receive their donations of unwanted technology. We have a team that will assess and refurbish anything that we can. And if we can't refurbish it, then we recycle it with R2 certified downstream vendors. And our primary focus on recirculating that technology is to create opportunity. So we partner with schools and libraries, housing associations, religious organizations to put computers into the hands of students, seniors, and low-income families. Our model is, I sometimes describe as we're the nonprofit's nonprofit, because rather than reinventing relationships and trying to build direct connections with our end users, we work through trusted messengers. We work through existing groups who have boots on the ground and relationships. We provide the technology solution, we bundle that with some services, and then we invite people into a supportive ecosystem where they can access opportunity online.
Well, and we're one of those partners here at CBAN as we, as part of our digital equity program, Digital Navigator Services for devices. We've here in the past 6 months or so pivoted, and we're going to start getting those devices through Human IT, including for a distribution advice device distribution event that we have planned in December in part of our service territory. So really excited to be able to work with you guys, because unlike you folks, Ashley, we were nowhere in a position to get into the whole developing our own ecosystem. So it's nice that there's entities like yours at Human IT, Padric, that we could kind of buy into to help us do the work we want to do. The device, we know that there's a high demand for digital devices, appropriate digital devices in this nation. I think everybody recognizes that. What I think is sometimes the average layperson doesn't understand is there is a huge supply of devices out there. It's just finding a way to get them into the right people's hands. So either one of you, talk about how did you, what were the steps you went through to identify the supply for this amazing raw material that just needs to be tweaked a little bit and turned into something that can then be meeting that demand?
Yeah. So I know for us, our president, Pat Millen, when we first started, it was, who do we think might have devices? And so Lowe's is headquartered very close to us. They're up in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Pat had a connection there. And, what he'll still say now is that look at all the skyscrapers in Charlotte and just think about how many devices these companies are overturning in, just a few years. And they have much more life left in them. And so that's always been kind of where we've tried to put a lot of our energy into, is just meeting with these corporations that will be turning over their devices in a few years. And are we able to get our hands on those to get them back out into the community? And so that is a big push of ours right now, especially as we're expanding into Western North Carolina, is just what companies are able to give us those devices and downstream them so that we're able to make use out of them.
As you're identifying those entities, and maybe Padric, I'll turn to you. What are some of the issues, challenges, concerns that, say, a company might have before it's willing to turn over its used tech to somebody like you to be repurposed?
Yeah, the average lifetime of a device is 8 to 10 years, but the average company will use it for 2 to 3 years. And so their refresh cycles are much faster. So there's an opportunity there to, like Ashley said, extend the life of that device and give it a new purpose. The biggest challenges for companies relate to trust and confidence in data security. When we're receiving computers, laptops, servers, networking equipment that has business data or client data or personal identifiable information, it's our job to work with our donors to build that trust. And so we have systems for identifying data-bearing devices, wiping them entirely of any data, rewriting over that with random data to ensure that no information could leak in any way at all. And if we can't do any of that, then we'll destroy the device entirely and then use that material for recycling purposes. So I would say the biggest barrier to receiving those donations is trust. And then logistics can be a big challenge as well. As you said, there's ample supply of devices all over the country. But those reverse logistics to centralize them out of offices and homes and into a centralized location where we can refurbish them, it's a big challenge. And it's one that we are regularly tackling through traditional methods like drives and local pickups, but also exploring freight relationships to bring in technology at scale.
One of the things that since I've been involved in digital equity activities here the past 3 years or so, that something I wasn't aware of, and somebody who generally has his ear to the road as far as broadband goes, is how much a dependence that we've had in this nation on things like this, right? This small screen, but very intelligent and powerful device has become the go-to device, digital device, for millions and millions of Americans of all age groups, of all demographics. And what's curious about that to me is, I knew that everybody and their dog had a smartphone before I went into this work, but I just didn't realize exactly how limiting this device can be for certain applications. So either of you, as you're working with digital equity programs who've identified that maybe end users need a larger screen device, whether that be a laptop like I have in front of me or a tablet. How do you, are you seeing that there is more and more understanding of the need for these larger screen devices among the population in general?
Yeah, I think the device selection is really important. And the first thing that we always start with is, what is the intended purpose, or what's the goal for distributing these devices? Mm-hmm. For people like seniors, it may be something like a tablet, which is easy to interface with. It's easy to navigate. You can install purposeful apps that are relevant to those persons' lives. So we ran a program called Connected Seniors in Southeast Michigan during COVID. And we focused on training those folks how to use a tablet and connecting with family and friends outside the home when they couldn't leave their home. Contrast that with something like a student. So if you're a middle school student, something like a Chromebook would be perfect for you. It's easy to access, easy to navigate. You can have parental controls and internet filtering, and it has all the basics for creating documents, etc. And then when you think of a third group, gamers, right? Mm-hmm. Computers aren't always workhorses. Sometimes we use them for entertainment. And so a computer with a higher CPU or more capacity, more power, or something that's customizable, those are more popular among folks who like to build their own computers for gaming. So we start with a conversation about what are the goals that we're trying to achieve here. And then we try to match our device specs to that need. It's a little bit of a back and forth, right? It's a dance because computers are constantly evolving as well. So we find ourselves trying to match that supply with the demands of the community first. And that can be quite the adventure, doing that at scale.
I've always thought of it this way: is you meet people where they are and take them where they want to be. And that device is a key part of that. Skills training, just general digital awareness is a big part of that, obviously. But meeting them where they are with maybe this, and where they want to be is being able to operate a spreadsheet or operate create a nice resume on a word processor. Taking them to what they need to do that. I think that's, kind of part of it. Ashley, in your program, how have you helped map out that device journey for your clients?
Yeah, I would say we take a very similar approach. So we, we'll meet with different organizations. We do work with individuals as well, but a lot of our larger distributions are with different organizations. And so if we're working with a senior population who, doesn't need a lot of processing power, they just want to check their bank account or send their grandkids an email, we're able to match them with a device that will be perfect for that. But we also work with a lot of college students, and we've been doing a lot of HBCU and first gen work. And so we want to make sure that those devices have, Windows on them versus maybe a Linux operating system that wouldn't be as conducive for their learning at
Right.
their universities. And so we'll just, meet with these individuals and kind of see what we have available to be able to get to them. And then kind of on the opposite, we might be trying to be creative. So I know recently we've seen a lot more tablets than we have beforehand. And I call them laptop tablets. It's like the 2-in-1 surfaces.
Right.
And those are something we hadn't seen a lot of before. And we're trying to see, what population would be most interested in these devices so we can make the best use of them.
So we're talking about the form factor of the device itself, whether it be a tablet that has keyboard capabilities like a 2-in-1, or just a plain old laptop. So that's one aspect you got to look at when it's coming to meeting these people where they are and taking them where they want to be. It is the operating system, right? Because an operating system, a Chrome operating system may be exactly what some people need, but a Windows operating system, or maybe even an Apple operating system, may be where they need to be. So I think that those are all, it's great that you guys are able to work through all that. Rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to prescribe you a solution because this is what 90% of the people need. That's great that you work with them. As you're evaluating, as you're moving your programs forward and you're evaluating who your partners are on the supply side, Padric, just to turn to you for a second, are what they are able to supply to you, is that evolving over time? Are corporations or businesses that are going through this 2 to 3 year cycle of technology turnover, are they going to use more tablets in the future than they are now, or what do you see there?
Yeah, technology is always evolving, right? So we need to keep up with that innovation curve. One lesson in the e-waste space that we learned in the last decade is we can't measure success by the weight of product. Previous, state programs and take-backs were measured by how much stuff we brought in. But as things get smaller and as the chip size decreases, the screen size decreases, and now it's increasing for smartphones. Technology is always changing. And so there will always be a version of the digital divide as new products and new technologies are rolled out. We take anything with a plug except for appliances. And so we have systems for deciding and sorting that incoming technology, first to identify those data-bearing devices, like I mentioned, but then also to assess its reusability. If it can be reused, we will absolutely refurbish it and resell it or donate it into the community. If it's an enterprise piece of technology, something like a printer, a copier, medical equipment, etc., that obviously is less useful for people like you and me, but might be perfect for a small business or a medium-sized business that's looking for reuse as an option for their equipment. And so as technology evolves, we are also constantly looking for the best use of that technology. But the bread and butter, of course, to make the biggest impact with our recipients is laptops. Now, the CPU is evolving, so the power of that laptop is increasing over time. But the great thing about modern laptops is a lot of them are modular. And so as long as it's not too glued and screwed, we can find uses and bring that device up to the standard that we need so that our recipients are taken care of.
The glued and screwed, that's a very good way to put it, because I have one right here that I'm getting ready to refurbish and recycle for a young lady, and I don't have any idea how I would get inside of this to upgrade the hard drive or anything like that. And that was the main reason it no longer is in my use case, because the 128 gig SSD ran out real quickly for me. But it's going to be a game changer for her, a young lady who 3 years out of high school this is the only computer she owns. So hopefully it'll help her in her career search and making her a more productive human being and whatnot. But Ashley, as you are looking ahead to E2D, are you in growth phase? Are you guys looking to expand your mission? Are you looking to go beyond North Carolina? What's your vision for the future?
Yeah, so we've grown a lot in just the last few years. So pre-COVID, we had distributed about 7,000 devices into mainly the Charlotte community. Since COVID, we've distributed over 40,000 devices throughout Charlotte, as well as some areas in the western half of North Carolina. So a big push for us this last year was to continue to grow outside of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg region and get into Western North Carolina, as well as potentially the Triad up in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so we're definitely continuing to grow. I don't know how soon in the future we would get into South Carolina. It's not too far from us, but North Carolina still has about 328,000 households who don't have access to their first device.
Wow.
And so we're definitely working towards that. And that number potentially went up after Hurricane Helene. And so we're definitely, putting our boots on the ground in Western North Carolina to see what we can do to help the individuals affected by the hurricane. But we're super excited to continue growing and digging into our first gen and HBCU work. And I mentioned that we hire high school and college students. And so we're continuing to grow our workforce development pipeline and work to develop these students into different IT pathways that they're interested in.
That's fantastic. Padric, same thing for you. Human IT, are you continuing to expand your reach and your mission?
Yeah, 2023 was a year of quiet growth for us. So we have about 130 employees, primarily in Southern California, but we also have a refurbishment location in Detroit, Michigan. And as we look toward next year, we're looking to expand once again to the East Coast, which helps with those logistics that I mentioned, bringing technology into communities, keeping those resources as local as possible. And then, like Ashley's organization, creating opportunity to engage with that tech, learn new skills, and create good. We think it's kind of a false choice that you can either do good or you can do well. And so we want to create opportunities for folks to work their passion, have a job in something that they really enjoy. We hire a lot of video gamers and computer hacker types, kind of the quiet folks who would not traditionally get access to opportunities that pay well in their local communities. And so we want to expand that impact while at the same time becoming a national brand, not just for donated tech, but for electronics in general. So we have our own online store with an AI shopping assistant. We're developing an AI digital navigator that can also provide real-time, complete, accurate information for anyone who has a question, whether it be what local internet providers are available in my area to what's the best device for achieving my goals in the next 5 years to my computer's not turning on. How do I troubleshoot it? So we are trying to provide a suite of solutions for folks that are really accessible so we can meet people where they're at, whether that be through a smartphone or calling in or having face-to-face interactions as well.
Well, hats off to both of your organizations and to the many others that are out there in this space that are being involved in getting devices into the right people's hands. You're really doing yeoman's work and playing a very crucial role in trying to reach that goal we all have of digital equity. So I want to thank you both for being on our podcast today. Ashley Smith with E2D in North Carolina and Points Beyond soon. And Padric with Gleason with Human IT. We want to thank you both for being here on the podcast and wish you all the best as you continue to grow and serve.
Thank you very much.
You bet. And thank you, everybody, for listening in and checking out today's edition of Broadband Action.